Okay, now we shall see the downside of monocropping, because I am recommending poly cropping as a good model of sustainable agriculture. So we should see the downside of monocropping. Under monocropping, farmers are dependent on chemical insecticides, disease-resistant plant varieties, soil fumigation and similar methods of controlling insects and diseases that were traditionally controlled by crop rotation. Yields in many areas are declining. In India's Green Revolution belt, Punjab, for example, wheat and rice yields are declining to uneconomic levels. Diseases are spreading. Monocropping universally attracts pests, which usually need to be controlled by expensive chemicals. It slowly degrades the soil and is usually unsustainable. Studies suggest that monocropping is less productive than mixed cropping. Vandana Shiva gives a wonderful example, I think, in her book Globalization and Poverty. You can place an order for that book too. Globalization and Poverty Resurgence by Vandana Shiva. So she cites a study of a polyculture system which found that you need 5 units of inputs to produce 100 units of food. That is polyculture. Very low input, high output. That is a productivity of 20 times. Yes, 20 times. On the other hand, for monoculture or monocropping, you need 300 units of input to produce 100 units of food. That's a productivity as low as 0.33. That's a good illustration. Our eyes can see and our brains can reason out. It's a very good example to compare and come to conclusion that polyculture is a better agricultural system than monocropping or monoculture agricultural system. Still, we can discuss further the effects of monocropping as they go over the last 100 years. Around 3/4 of the world's known plant species have been lost. There were 30,000 varieties of rice growing in India at the start of the 20th century. Today, around 3/4 of India's rice crops comes from only 10 varieties. According to the Global Biodiversity Assessment of the United Nations Environmental Program, 5 to 20% of plant species are threatened with the extinction in the foreseeable future unless present trends are reversed. All right, we have come to another subsection called GM technology and food paranoia. Genetically modified technology. This discussion is about a little bit of science. I'm not a scientist, but we can explore together. All right. There is a lot of paranoia over the genetically modified food. Virtually all food has been modified. Pro-GM scientists claim that genetic engineering is nothing more than a progression on plant breeding. It was practiced even Old Testament times. The grafting, the interbreeding of animals, cows, bulls, dogs, pigs, etc., etc. It was practiced by our ancestors. So genetically modified technology is not a recent one. It is very, very old one. Even Bible has a reference in Isaiah. To be even like the reaper gathering the standing grain, as his arm harvests the ears, or it will be like one gleaning ears of grain in the valley of Rephaim. It looks like that machine, that combined harvester, that big machine which cuts the ears of corn and which harvests the rice crops. So that is the image you get when you read this biblical text. See, the conventional breeding today, it was happening in biblical times. They were doing it. Cow interbreeding, dogs, etc., rabbits. First, in conventional breeding, we do the following: cross-pollination, hybridization. All these are achieved in few days. And it's all about good mutations. In nature, we have mostly bad mutations, but it takes years to achieve the beneficial mutation. That is the difference. In our human genetically modified technology, we create only good and beneficial mutations. And also very fast, within 2-3 days. But in nature, it will take 30,000 years in order to produce probably one mutation. That is also bad mutation. But it will take millions of years to produce at least one good mutation. That is how nature works. So I'm not telling nature is bad and humans are good. No. Nature knows better. You can't really say good or bad about nature because we don't have the wisdom to comment on the process of nature, because nature is so wise. With humility, we should know we don't know. That's it. So anyway, we should find balance. We should find balance. We should respect the laws of nature. At the same time, we should able to handle some of the genetically modified technology to create good stuff for the benefit, not only for humans, the benefit also to other creatures and the benefit of the ecosystem to the natural world as well. That is the balanced approach. Here comes the second one. It's called mutagenesis. It is a process by which the genetic information of an organism is changed in a stable manner, resulting in a good mutation. It may occur spontaneously in nature or as a result of exposure to mutagens. It can also be achieved experimentally using laboratory procedures where scientists do the bombardment with the nuclear radiation and subject seeds to the submersion in carcinogenic chemical for a rapid mutation. Over 2,400 organic crops such as Rio red grapefruit, some of the apple seeds, even some of the watermelon seeds also originated this way. All this technology started, like interbreeding, mutagenesis, all of them started when there was one Augustinian monk He was a priest called Gregor Mandel. He started all that. He was interbreeding the pea plants. He was experimenting with the yellow flowers, white flowers. He was exchanging pollen and then was creating new seeds and new flowers. So it started long time back. Again, Catholic priest started all this genetics. He was the father of genetics, Gregor Mandel. So today, homework I want to give you. When you go home, go to YouTube search or Google search and type Gregor Mandel, and you will get a lot of information on him. That is the best way to educate yourself and introduce yourself to genetically modified field. The discussion what we are doing right now, you will get more information. Third technology is RNA interference technology. It is a biological process in which RNA molecules inhibit gene expression, typically by causing the destruction of specific mRNA molecules. Here we target particular genes to be silenced. A species of apple called Arctic apple was created this way. Arctic apples contain a non-browning trait introduced by this type of technology. You know, when you cut the apple, when you keep it outside, the apple becomes brown. The color is lost, the taste is lost. But this apple, Arctic apple, if you cut and keep it outside for even 2-3 days, there is no browning. The color doesn't change. So this kind of apple is created by RNA interference technology. It is achieved specifically by gene splicing. The fourth one is a very common one. It is called transgenic technology. Transgenics is the process of introducing an exogenous gene called a transgene into a living organism so that the organism will exhibit a new property and transmit that property to its offspring. Here, we do the specific insertion of specified genes from the donor to the host seed. Now the important question is, are they safe? Among the suitors, those who agree, those who say it is safe, Pope Francis is one of them. It's a surprise to me. I was surprised when Pope Francis was arguing in favor of genetically, especially transgenic technology. He writes as follows in the paragraph number 134 of Laudato Si. Although no conclusive proof exists that genetically modified cereals may be harmful to human beings. In fact, science has done some research on that statement. Main conclusion from 130 research projects covering over 25 years, involving over 500 independent research groups, is that biotech, and in particular GMO, is not per se more risky. It is not risky at all than conventional breeding. In fact, the technology is as old as Bible. Actually, I also thought genetically modified food is bad. It's very dangerous. It's not good for you. In my seminars, I was repeating the same thing. No good, no good, don't eat it, don't eat it. But now after reading the encyclical, after learning the new teaching of the Mother Church, now I don't say it is bad. I also don't recommend. I take neutral position, balanced. So anyway, Pope is telling it is not that dangerous. It is like conventional breeding in the biblical times, in Sangam literature. They selected good bulls. You know, The Pongal, we celebrate Mattu Pongal. It's all about breeding. In those days, they created smart bulls by interbreeding. So Sangam literature also it happened. So genetically modified technology is as good as conventional breeding. That is what I am trying to hear from other people. But I am not recommending you anything, but you do research on your own. And you find out and examine the information and then make your own conclusions. Here is the conventional breeding during the biblical times. St. Paul is writing to Romans about it in chapter 11. But if some of the branches were broken off, and you, being a wild olive, were grafted in among them and became partaker with them of the rich root of the olive tree, do not be arrogant towards the branches. But if you are arrogant, remember that it is not you who supports the root, but the root supports you. You will say then, branches were broken off so that I might be grafted in. See there? Grafting technology. St. Paul is aware of it. He was aware of it. Here Pope Francis really has a problem with the genetically modified crops. Yes. In the previous slide we saw, he stated there is inconclusive proof that it is harmful for humans. I mean, there is no evidence, he says. But here he argues opposite to genetically modified technology. The widespread adoption of genetically modified crops would also mean the spread of monocropping and threaten further loss of plant genetic diversity, the very basis of food security. Pope Francis expresses deep concern over the GM issue. Paragraph number 134 of Laudato Si, he writes as follows. In many places, following the introduction of these genetically modified crops, productive land is concentrated in the hands of a few owners. The expansion of these crops has the effect of destroying the complex network of ecosystems, diminishing the diversity of production and affecting regional economies now and in the future. I am very happy Pope Francis is giving a balanced view. In one area he says it's all right. In other areas he invites the international community to go further with caution. With caution. There is danger there. Be careful. That's good. That's a good encyclical. In theory, GM technology could make a contribution in helping to develop crops that, for example, have resistance to drought. This kind of new inventions, this kind of beneficial things, what genetically modified technology should look into the future. Have resistance to drought. The crops, they should develop seeds and crops which have a natural resistance to drought, heat and cold, and which are virus resistant. To have a future, genetically modified technology would have to prove that it is safe for people and the environment, that higher yields of food crops would result and hungry people benefit, that it could be controlled by small-scale farmers rather than by large corporations. Today, multinational corporations, oligopolies, like Walmart, like Reliance, like Microsoft, like Amazon, like eBay. These are known as the oligopolies. They are a group of people that nobody can compete with them, and they do the business. So this kind of people enjoy genetically modified technology. They pay enormous amount of money and they go for monocropping. Palm oil is owned by oligopolies, supported by genetically modified technology. Even horticulture, unfortunately, is controlled by genetically modified technology. So only rich people benefit. And rich people are able to buy with a lot of money, and they are enjoying the produce of the modern technology. But the poor people can't. See the small scale farmers. So in the future, genetically modified technology can be beneficial also to the small farmers. They should be able to buy seeds and also chemical input with the normal economical fee, not like paying huge amount and at last they are led to debt, and they commit suicide. So genetically modified technology does not have a good record. It doesn't have a good record. So it has to really create a good reputation in the future. Book of Proverbs expresses a balanced view. It is not money and becoming rich by genetically modified technology, or not left out with the old models of agriculture. Balance. You use the traditional methods, incorporating with the genetically modified technology. Traditional wisdom and the modern wisdom. Both of them can produce ultimate food security into the future. That's what Proverb puts it. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Now we come to another brand new subsection, seed selection. Seed selection. I call it nature's microchip. At the heart of the divine order is the simple seed. Seeds that produce life, a common miracle. Genesis chapter 1 verse 11-12 records that on the third day of creation, God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." It was so. We find this divine order also reflected in Genesis chapter 1:29 and chapter 2 verse 1. Note the beauty of the passage and the power of the words. From the vast array of the heavens to the miracle of the seed, God created patterns and textures. Order and beauty were spoken into this lively work of art. Plants and trees are seed-bearing. They produce life after their design, after their image. Yes, especially chapter 1:29, where God says that fruits, vegetables, and nuts, these I give to you for your food. Plant-based food. and colors, smells, and the aesthetic beauty. That's what God means when He says, this is your food. So food security, we should bring in everything as plant-based food, aesthetics, beauty, color, taste, smell, human spirit, human creativity, ingenuity, innovation. Everything you bring it to the food. After all, you are going to consume through your mouth. What you love, you put in your mouth. That's simple. You don't put anything which you don't love. You eat what you are in love with. So that is the basic explanation about our interest in food security. There is no place where we see this more profoundly expressed than in the seed. Mark chapter 4. It is like a grain of mustard seed, which when sown on the ground is the smaller of all the seeds on earth and becomes a large tree with branches where birds of the air can nest in. Seeds allow for reproduction, for the expansion of life, for the growing of the garden, for the sending out of culture makers to all the corners of the earth. Imagine the system of the seed called for only one exchange. One seed would reproduce just one seed. Death would have been built into the system. But the miracle of the seed produces a bountiful garden. From one seed comes a plant that produces many fruit, and within each fruit are many seeds. The agriculturalist and horticulturalist have the honor of participating in this miracle. There is a wonderful Kenyan proverb that describes the glory of the seed. You can count the number of seeds in a mango, but you cannot count the number of mangoes in a seed. Mark chapter 4. From one seed can come a virtually unlimited harvest. The kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter seed on the ground. A Kenyan pastor named Joseph captured the wonder of the seed in the intriguing question: what is more powerful, a seed or a bullet? The profound answer: a seed. Why, you ask? Because a bullet can kill one person. A single seed can produce food for 1 million people. Pastor Joseph concluded, man created the bullet. Who created the seed? God. Aha! The wisdom of Africa. Seed is a particularly sensitive issue for small-scale farmers. Seed is a farmer's dignity. Without seed, a farmer is a potential migrant, says Sali Yunisi, a farmer in Tera, Niger. Multinational corporations show no sign of letting go of the patents they hold on the seeds. As long as TNCs enforce their patent rights, control of GM technology cannot pass to the farmer. GM mega businesses could be particularly damaging in developing countries, dominating the market, taking out patents on farmer seed, and even making it difficult for farmers to save and exchange their own seed. Pope Francis notes the impending danger of losing the natural seeds. In Laudato Si, paragraph number 137, he writes as follows: in various countries, we see an expansion of oligopolies for the production of cereals and other products needed for their cultivation. This dependency would be aggravated were the production of infertile seeds to be considered. The effect would be to force farmers to purchase them from larger producers. So that is what today our poor farmers are doing. Enormous amount of money they pay for seed. And the return is very scarce. Return is so less. Many people chose to commit suicide. You know, Nammalwar and some of the NGO groups, I think some 15 years ago, Americans wanted the patent for neem seeds. Neem tree comes from India. Neem and basmati rice, both of them. Americans wanted the patent, the seed patent. In other words, if you want to plant a neem tree in India in your house, you need to buy the seed from Americans. Can you imagine? Indian neem tree seed, America takes the patent and you have to buy from them. So Nammalwar, other NGO groups, they went to Europe and they spent a lot of resources and they fought against this kind of arrogant behavior from America. At last they succeeded. Now America had to say, yes, we are not going to own neem seeds, basmati seeds. You take it back to India. Yes. So today, that's amazing what Nammalwar has done. Amazing. You know, British administration was surprised how Indian farmer can achieve high yield. For example, 1 hectare of land can produce in India 8,200 kilogram of paddy or rice. But the modern agriculture with chemical input, that is 1960s, the Green Revolution, it can produce only 3,600 or 4,000 kilograms per hectare. But Indian farmers, they cultivated double in 1940s, in 1950s. So the colonial administration at that time employed a man called Thomas Bernard. He was a scientist, to investigate and give a report to Queen Elizabeth in England, what's going on in Indian agriculture. So the 18th century British scientist Thomas Bernard studied agricultural output in 800 villages spread over several districts of India. He found that the average production of paddy was 3,600 kilograms per hectare, with the best 130 villages averaging 8,200 kilograms per hectare. This is higher than the average yields that farmers were to obtain 2 centuries later under the so-called Green Revolution of the 1960s. That is amazing. How was it possible? So Bernard is going to tell us that it's all seed selection. Our ancestors had good seeds, nothing else. Nothing else. In 2 Timothy, we read as follows: the hard-working farmer ought to be the first to receive his share of the crops. The hard-working farmer here means he selects good seed, so he receives high yield, his share of crops. Bernard put this abundance down to optimal seed selection to suit the site, sophistication, yet simplicity of tools, extreme care in tending the fields, and techniques such as intercropping and fallow. See, seed selection, intercropping. You know what? The high yield of a crop depends on pollination, the quality of pollination and the quality of pollen. So here we need to note that our neighbor's crops also should be in optimal condition. If you want to produce good crop, our neighbor crop should be in optimal condition. If our neighbor wants to produce good crop, our crops should be in optimal condition. So we need to look into the seed and seed selection. Our ancestors, they shared the seeds among neighbors. That is how they could achieve such an optimal rate of yield. They gave good seed to the neighbors. The neighbors gave good seed to other people. They knew that. If you want to have a good crop, you need good pollen. That is achieved by only through seeds. So they shared with other people. This is how India was producing 8,200 kilogram per hectare. Hectare means 1.5 acre of land. So probably 3 acres of land will become 2 hectares. So that is amazing what our ancestors did. And also intercropping. Also intercropping means other crops. Trees and vegetation, that pollen also helped to control pest. So the natural pest control. There was no chemical input at all here. Everything was done nature's way. This is the last slide I would like to teach, and then you can take a break. I think it's already time now, 5 minutes more. Seed bombs. This is a wonderful project I want to give you this weekend when you go for catechism classes to the parishes. Gather some children and ask about seed bombs. Before that, you do some research in YouTube tonight. I gave you a homework already, Gregor Mandel. So you educate yourself on that, and also seed bombs in YouTube. How to make a seed bomb. Yeah, it's very simple. You can learn from YouTube, but I want to tell you this week, talk to the children about it. Just ignite their minds. Tell them to collect seeds this week. All big tree seeds, not small. Here in this seed bomb you see only small plants. You don't want that. This is not right. This is an example. Don't do this. But you collect big tree seeds like neem tree, punga, kodukapuli, tamarind tree, mango tree, banyan, rain tree, all those big tree seeds. So you dry them under the sun, all right, and gather. Ask the children to bring 1 kilogram each, mixed seeds, mixed. Ask them to bring 1 kilogram each, one of them. And then for 1 kilogram of seed, you take 3 kilogram of clay. Mix them well and then make them bombs. Clay and seeds are mixed. And then make a bomb like this. See there? And then make a bomb like that. And you dry them again under the sun. So now bombs are ready. So probably after 3 weeks, you may need 3 weeks to prepare seed bomb. And then take the children and go for a walk. And you find a deserted place where there is no vegetation, no trees, and also it is a common area. So you go there, this is a monsoon time, correct time, perfect time for seed bombing. And ask the children to throw those bombs there. Just you throw them and you come away. After 5 years, you go and see that place, you'll be shocked. Then you will discuss, oh my God, 5 years ago I came here, it was a deserted place, desolate, nothing was there. But today there are trees, there are flowers, fruits, vegetables, animals, birds, amphibians, color, smell, everything is there. So this is how you turn a deserted place into a tropical rainforest. A deserted India, you can make a rainforest India like Sirabunji. You studied in your school, Sirabunji, Meghalaya, Sirabunji. You can make India, whole India Sirabunji. It will look like Meghalaya. It's going to look like a hot spot of biodiversity. It's very easy. We can make it through seed bombs. Thank you.